I'm going to start today by drawing directly on the paper instead of going through the process of transferring just because of the time element. And it's not going to be perfectly scientific, obviously, for that reason. I'm going to work with watercolor. I've got my watercolor palette here. I'm going to work with some colored pencil. I have two kinds of colored pencil. The Lyra Rembrandt Polycolor. This is kind of an oil-based pencil. The Prismacolor pencil. And pastel. This is just the sticks of pastel, but I also have pastel pencils. So I'll use that as a finishing touch. I have a set of brushes. Probably be using my favorite size brush, which is a number 10. And I've got a rigger. Probably end up with a rigger. Although there aren't very many lines there, I'll probably use my big fat 24-inch brush at times. And mostly I'll use round brushes on this. So to get started, I'll just do a drawing. And you could be drawing along also at the same time if you want to. It doesn't really matter what pencil you use, just want to make sure it's dark enough that you can see the line. So I may end up doing a background on this at some point, but right now I'll just start with the artichoke itself. So I'm looking at the placement on the paper, and I want it to be the main part of the artichoke about a little above the halfway point in the page. So I'm just going to do a really rough shape. And as we talked about before, I can see sort of a spiral here of the petals that come out. And so I'm going to do sort of a, whoops, I don't think you can really see that very well. I'm going to see if I can turn on the light. Maybe the light will help. Not really, does it? It kind of maybe blurs it out even more. Get down a little closer. So I have some basic shapes. At least I don't have that annoying music going on, huh?
That was obnoxious.
Some of that music, I don't know why they think they have to have that. It's just terribly distracting.
I knew people at the university who used to study to Led Zeppelin with headphones on.
Oh my gosh.
Boy.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought it was annoying.
Yeah, well, I made the mistake in my other class of turning the sound off, and then I didn't realize that people were talking to me because I couldn't hear them. I turned off not only the sound of the music, but I turned off my.
Oh.
I don't know what that loud dinging is that happens.
Is that trouble sound?
It's my horrible thing. Whenever I get a text, I get a banner and it comes across. So I'm muting myself forever.
Oh no.
Just mute your notifications.
I don't know how.
Okay, then mute yourself.
I'll Google that too. I'll Google how to mute notifications.
There you go.
It's in your settings.
Yeah, you're dealing with sensitive people here. We can't take that.
I'm
That's a dinging already.
I'm a sensitive person too. I don't even have a TV, so there, because I don't want that noise in my house.
But you don't even hear the dinging or the time alerts.
No, I actually hear the ding, but I'm so inured to it now. I'm just used to it. I'm ruined.
Yeah.
You could change the sound on it, the type of sound it makes.
Yeah, if I figure out how to do it, I'll just turn it off. Thank you.
It is helpful to know what time it is. It's a reminder to me. I know that's why you're doing it. It's to remind me that we've got other things we have to do.
Well, mine, I have the time. I don't even know when I did that. I set, to tell me on the hour, but then I also must have set it so when I get, notifications, when I get texts and emails that I get a ding. So I'm going to get rid of it. I think it's a good idea because I'm too controlled by that.
Yeah, you don't need to be that controlled in your life.
No, I do
You're
not.
retired now. Turn it off.
We're all being dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century, you know.
That's for sure. No, this is going to make me want to eat an artichoke for dinner. I think I have one. I think I do have one in the refrigerator left. Okay, let's see here.
I grew them when I had a yard, but they get to be pretty large plants. So
Really?
yeah, you have to have room for them. But they come back year after year. They're not an annual.
Wow. How big did they get? Like the kind in the grocery store?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I just like the flowers, you know. I would let them go to flower
Uh-huh.
for the visual dazzle.
Aren't those flowers gorgeous?
Yeah, they're a thistle.
They remind me of that passion vine,
Hmm.
the same kind of flower,
Oh, that's true.
not the same kind of type.
But they are a thistle. You know, you can see wild thistles growing, but they're not on that scale.
Do goldfinches like them?
Oh, they love them. Any seed.
I love goldfinches. I think they're so pretty.
I raised a goldfinch. She
Really?
was the tiny, yeah, she was as big as a quarter in the beginning. And then when she started getting feathers, they were yellow, and we thought, what kind of bird is this?
Well, how did that happen? Tell us a story. Did you find her or what?
The little girl next door brought over this little bucket with pine needles in and 3 tiny birds, and 2 were dead. So I took the one that wasn't dead. And I
Wow.
called the Humane Society to find out what to feed her.
So how long did you have her?
I had her for like a year.
And then
She
did
would come when you called her, she would come. She'd land on your finger or
Huh.
so
and she never wanted to go to bed at night. She slept in my big plants, and we kept having to turn down the lights so she'd go to sleep like a naughty little kid.
oh my gosh.
Huh.
And did she finally go out into the world?
Yes.
Wow.
When she felt that urge that to fly with other birds, huh?
Yeah, one time we lost her, and I had put celery in the refrigerator. She had flown into the refrigerator after the celery.
Oh
Oh,
my
We
God.
kept saying, oh my gosh, where is she? I can hear her, but she sounds so far away.
oh, how long was she in there?
Too long. Thank goodness.
Wow.
Goodness.
Have you seen the video of the guy that rescued a baby hummingbird?
Oh
Actually,
yeah.
his dog rescued it, or his dog found it, and he rescued it, and it was covered in ants and had to, you know, he brought it back to life, and it ended up
Oh,
living indoors in the house. He said it was like living with Tinkerbell.
Wow.
oh,
Neat story.
I love those stories.
Me too.
I worked with Santa Barbara Wildlife Care for a while, for a
Uh,
few.
Oh, I bet you saw some interesting things happen.
I released a poor will, which looks like a tiny little owl. It has large eyes and its feathers are like velvet. It was
Hmm.
beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful. I didn't raise it, but I just let it go up here.
Mhm.
Did you know Connie Ferrer?
I
Oh, her.
maybe
Yes.
she was out. I was in it before they had the center at all.
Okay, yeah, she's one of the people that started it all, but she rescues birds and takes care of them all year long, and she raises them, and lots of them never leave her.
My friend Edith rescued a crow. She called him Julio. And when she went to let him go, you like leave food out. So the first night he came back by himself. And the next night he came back to have food by him or with like 2 or 3 other crows. And she said the third time the trees were black with crows and he never came back.
I love it. Yeah, Connie has these big aviaries in her yard, and she rehabs them, and then they never leave. She leaves the doors open in the big aviaries, and they just everything stays there because they love her and she loves them. It's so weird.
A big aviary too. And we moved and came back the next day to get it. And they had chopped it completely up.
Who had?
The people that were buying the house.
Oh, how horrible. Oh,
I don't know how we would have moved it anyway. It was really pretty large. I knew Michi White. Did you know her? She's one of
what,
the founders.
what's her
Michi,
name? No, but I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure Connie does. I don't know her. I've known Connie for 40 years. When before I became an English teacher, I was a secretary in the English department at UCSB, and I worked for her husband, for Mark Ferrer. And so we've been friends forever.
Oh, that's nice. Did you know Edith Hovey?
No, I didn't. Is she also involved?
She did mainly hummingbirds and she would bring them wherever she went with a small little basket because they
Oh,
did so often, like every 20 minutes you had to feed them.
yeah, that's how Connie sets the alarm, and she's up half the night because she's, during bird season, their whole bathroom, they're just filled with birds, and they're in the bathtub and in the sink and everywhere in boxes. It's amazing.
One time in LA and in the middle of the road, these cars, there was a tiny little quail and the cars were driving almost over it. So I ran out there and scooped it up and took it home. And I found a quail person. I had it for like 3 days and it was really shy. When I found the quail person and she put it in there, it puffed. It was so happy.
Oh, I love this. Thank you. See, it's all about unity now. So we're talking about unity.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to start to add color, and I just realized I should erase a few of these structural lines that I put in when I was drawing, because I don't want too many of those graphite lines.
So do you erase them afterwards, you said?
I'm erasing them now before I paint, just because once I paint over it, I won't be able to erase them.
Okay.
So my drawing is a little dark because I wanted you to be able to see it. So it might end up, I'm gonna just now lightly with my kneaded eraser, lighten some of it. Otherwise it might show through too much. So I'm starting with yellow because it's the lightest value. And I'm using Aureolin yellow, which is a transparent yellow. And because I'm working with green mostly, I can go ahead and.
Sorry.
You
I
must.
keep muting myself, unmute myself, and then it unmutes automatically. I don't know why.
I should take out my hearing aids because that's probably a sound that it picks up on more. Okay, so I'm just kind of going around and putting, you could put the yellow in over most of it, although there is some green here that's a little bit of a blue green, more of a blue green. So I'm not putting it everywhere right yet. And so I started with yellow. Now I'm going to start with a little bit of sap green. I'm mainly going to paint some shapes here. I'm looking at the shapes of the petals and painting some shapes. Remembering that the paint will flow into the areas that are wet, but it will not go beyond them. And while it's still wet, I'm going to come back in and darken a little bit. Let's see, I've got a little bit of Prussian blue here. I think I'll add some of that. I'm probably not going to do exactly like I would if I were painting the whole thing because I want to show you a process and it would take a little too long. So I'm going to focus more on just a few of the petals right now. I'm using warmer yellows, yellow green in the petals that are closer to the viewer, cooler farther away. Let's see, I'm looking at that color, sort of a purplish a little like of a alizarin, but with more purple in it. Let's see here. So I'll add a little ultramarine to my alizarin crimson.
Somebody's got birds singing to them.
What's that?
Someone has birds singing to them.
Really, I can't hear it.
It's saying sweet, 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 sweet.
Oh, I hear something.
And it's not my computer bell.
Thank God.
I'm muting myself again. Goodbye.
It's not me, but I did forward that video to you, Sylvia. So
Okay, thank you.
at your leisure.
By the way, I did during the break, I did go back in and try to restore the voice thread.
Were you successful?
I don't know. I think I was, but I guess we'll find out, huh?
I'm looking.
It's still gone on mine.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Oh dear. What I did was I made a copy of it and I thought I put it in the in that group, and I thought I sent you an email.
Oh, I just saw it.
So it is there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I got it too.
Okay.
I didn't think of looking through it for an email.
It just appeared on mine. It wasn't there before and then it appeared. And it looks like it has all the same things in it.
Okay, good.
Yay.
Success. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to darken some of the purples in the center here. I also want to try to show you, you know, using some colored pencil in addition to just using watercolor. So I'll come back in and do a little of that also.
Do you know who Julia Stepbro is?
Yeah, she's in our class.
She has asked for access to my voice thread pair.
I got that email or that notice and I allowed access. So I'm surprised you got it.
Well, Donna wondered if I had some kind of weird access because I was a professor there.
Oh, maybe. I don't know though.
But I didn't think about that because I've been retired now for a couple of years, so who knows? I'm going to give her, Julia, I'm giving you permission.
Yeah, I gave her permission too, so one of us, it should work. I want to allow time for the voice thread. So right now, I think I have another, well, we probably have another half an hour. No, 20 minutes anyway to paint.
I have a question, Sylvia.
Yes.
When you use colored pencil, do you need to use a fixative afterwards?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
I heard somebody on one of the tapes saying, don't even use a fixative when you're using pastels.
I don't like to use it because it darkens the colors. It changes it.
Well, I have this stuff I did 6 months ago and it looks exactly the same, and I didn't put a fixative on it. So I'm just I have my can of it, but I'm not using it.
Well, you have to just protect the surface. That's the key. You don't want it to rub against other things, you know.
Yes. I bought some kind of little book and then I bought some kind of paper that they said you can put between pictures.
Yeah, that's good.
It's something.
I'm using a little bit of ultramarine blue with my sap green, just so I can get some darker darks in here to try to help to define some of the shapes. I'm softening an edge here because I don't want it to get too hard. So remember, when you're working with watercolor, that when you want a hard edge, you want to have dry paper. If you want a soft edge, you want to use water to soften it. So I'm seeing a little bit of an edge here on the petals. a little bit of a purple edge. So with just doing a very fine line to define the edge of the petal. Now I have to let some of that dry before I can use colored pencil on it. So it's one reason I'm working on some of the outer shapes. Now I'm going to work on some of the outer shapes so that I will allow the other parts to dry.
Oh,
Ding, I'm probably going to have that ding in my sleep tonight. Ding.
I can't figure out why it spontaneously unmutes. I mute myself and then it just unmutes itself.
Well, it must be your dead notifications, like I think Kelly said.
Oh, they undo the mute function.
Well, it's probably not related to it.
Because I have muted myself 20 times at least today, and it just every time I look, I'm unmuted.
Why don't you mute or take off your notifications when you're in class?
Well, I'm going to, but I can't do it while I'm in class because,
Makes
I
sense,
will.
but I mean for next time.
Oh, that's the plan. I'll just keep them off forever probably because I'm not a techie that's gonna go back and forth and do and undo.
Remember, you're retired. You don't have to get to something right away.
You know, that's a really, I'm realizing now that it's okay if the days just bleed into each other, but it sure wasn't. At the beginning of COVID, I was still trapped in the doing thing that I had to do, and I had to mark time and I had to mark days, and I'm, you know, I mean, unless I have workers in the house or things scheduled, I'm getting much better about just letting it be.
You know, when I first started working at Hallmark, which was my first job after Art Center, I was so used to having to sit at my drawing table doing homework at night that, I mean, this is really bizarre. I found myself going and sitting at my drawing table in the evening because
Uh,
we didn't have TV or anything. And so I was like a force of habit. I just ended up there. And I would do things, you know, but it was just really hard to stop that pattern.
Yeah, I can thank COVID for that. That's one of the good things because it's not completely stuck. Darn it. Okay, I gotta get off. But I just got the phone number for you to call. So that was good. That was a good ding.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. You forgive it.
well, some of us are starved for entertainment owing to COVID. So, you know, those dings aren't terrible.
Yeah, at least it's something, right? I mean, something's happening somewhere.
To every notification, there's a silver ding.
Art.
Okay, I'm going to have to break out my colored pencils now because we're going to run out of time. So
That's looking really good.
I've tried to drop in a few darks. I don't remember who it was now. Maybe it's Anna Mason who drops in a few darks because that helps her to get some idea of what, you know, what her values. So I'm going to come back come in a little closer now. And I'll get my colored pencils out, and my Lyra, which is my oil-based pencils, are already sharpened. So I'll see if I can find some that would be the right color. So I'm looking at the kind of a darker purple color and kind of a warm purple. And here's one that I think would work pretty well. Let's see if it's dry enough. Well, maybe, let's hope so. So because the picture I'm looking at has sort of a grainy quality to the texture of the purple, I'm going to go sideways with my pencil like this to start with. It didn't really do that much, so I'm going to go this way. So what's happening now is I'm using the pencil on top of the watercolor, and I'm kind of pulling it out past the painted part so that it's going to almost feather that edge. I can also get darker on top of my watercolor with it. This part's a little wet still, so it's not really working as well on that part. I'm thinking too, for this grainy look, that pastel might really work well. So I'll get out my pastel and try it too.
Wow, it changed the color of your illustration when you put your hand there. We see it brighter.
Oh,
Sort of,
yeah. Isn't that
sort
fun?
of
Oh,
fluctuate.
It's
because
great.
yeah, you see it more like it really is. I think it's the light maybe from my windows on the side that's washing it out. That's good to know. Okay, I'm going to open my pastels now. Okay, so these are my set of pastels. They're just very small little half sticks, they're called. Faber-Castell. And I have this kind of a purple. I'm going to try using it. And I've got some white, so I'll get it.
It's really beautiful, Sylvia.
Oh, thanks.
So those are just pastels, not oil pastels.
Right. I don't think I have any oil pastels anymore.
I really like the texture.
The texture of the pastel is really kind of a neat thing because it actually is similar to what I'm seeing here.
I was out of the room when you started this. So what kind of paper are you using?
It's my arches water.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that takes pastel really well.
Yeah. Some people just use that for their pastels. Let's see here.
I missed, what do they use for their pastels?
Arches watercolor paper.
Oh, okay.
I've used that Canson My Tints or Mi Tientes before, but that has a texture. So,
Yeah.
so it's if you want something smooth, you know, ultra smooth, and Bristol board is almost like hot press illustration board.
Now I'm going to come in with some green pastel because I want to try to blend some of the purple pastel that I have on here a little bit. So I'm just going to experiment with it and see if that'll do it. It looks more grainy from what I'm seeing on the video or the film you're watching than it really is. So I'm going to come back in and sort of cross hatch over some of it because I want to break it up a little bit.
Sylvia, all those colors are fabulous.
They're getting a little bit bright in some places, but I think I can tone it down.
It doesn't really matter what the video shows, just so it looks right in real life.
True, that's a good point.
You don't need to change it for the video.
Yeah, good point. Now I'm coming in with a little bit of white pastel now up in here where this highlight is up here in the center.
I like white pastel. I like white paint too.
Yeah. And there's,
So
go ahead.
that's okay. I forgot.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of the reverse thing from watercolor where you do your light highlights on top of the darks, you know, as
Yeah.
opposed to preserving the white of the paper.
Hmm.
So I'm using the white now to kind of pull out some of the lighter edges in places.
So Sylvia, what do you call this? Done. It's not a watercolor, but it's a
Mixed media.
media. Okay.
Ah,
I'm going to try what we talked about or what was mentioned. I'm going to take a brush with just water and I would like to soften some of this pastel. So I'm going to come back in now where I put it and see what happens.
You would do that as opposed to smearing it with your finger or
I did smear it a little bit with my finger, but it was not really doing anything. I wanted
okay.
to, it could be that it's just maybe the paper is a little damp. I'm not sure, but it wasn't really creating the effect that I wanted.
what if you put your beloved salt on it?
Well, if it were that wet, I could, but it's not wet enough. That's the
Can
problem.
you put water over the salt? I did that on mine, which was probably a mistake.
No,
But
you
my paper wasn't damp enough either, so I just put water over it.
do that, yeah. But you see, the kind of texture I want, I don't think would work that well with it here.
Mm-mm.
I just got pastel, like a blob of pastel on the background here, but if I do a background, that'll cover that up anyway. So, well, that gives you some idea of this process, and I think I should probably stop and do the voice thread now. Any questions about it at this point?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm going to stop the